Live from Fargo and serving you on TV, online, and on the go, this is Valley News Live at 5.
Hurricane Laura made landfall early this morning on the Gulf Coast as a strong Category 4. It is now weekend as it continues further in the mainland, which is already shifting to cleanup mode, including a Fargo native who says her new city missed the brunt of the storm by about 30 miles. As Valley News Team's crime and safety reporter Bailey Hurley talked with a woman today who says North Dakota floods and blizzards didn't prepare her for what Mother Nature had in store this week.
After graduating from the University of Mary this spring, Fargo native Liz Heinzman hit the road to start her career as a traveling physical therapist. First stop, Orange, Texas.
Smallest town I've ever lived in, but it's nice though.
But Heinzman says she never expected to find herself in the path of a hurricane.
I had no idea. I didn't know it was hurricane season. I didn't know what to expect with a hurricane.
Heinzman says as forecasts became more serious, so did her stress levels.
When it went from a Cat 2 to a Cat 3, you could feel like the mood change in the clinic and in the town.
Saying she and a coworker packed up their belongings Monday and evacuated Tuesday morning to a hotel just outside of Austin.
It's so much different than a flood. You know, we have floods all the time. My parents' house in Fargo is in a flood zone, so I've dealt with that, but this was a whole different ballgame.
Heinzman says thankfully the brunt of Laura missed Orange, but says most of the town is still without power and riddled with debris.
We got lucky that it moved a little bit.
She says she and her coworker are making their way back today to start helping with cleanup efforts.
We have some elderly patients that stayed, and they told us that they were staying. So if we can get to them, we might go check on them.
And Heinzman says while she hopes to be back to work sometime next week, even if that's not the case, she says she plans to stay and give back to her new neighbors.
There's been way too many people that have helped my family not lose their house in floods that these people have done a lot for me down here. So I'm definitely going to stay down, make sure as many people as we can get help.
Bailey Hurley, Valley News Live.
Officials credit the evacuations of thousands of people for preventing deaths. However, Louisiana Governor John Edwards says a 14-year-old girl has died after a tree fell on top of her home. And we've had some pretty good weather today, but will it last through the night? Let's check in with Chief Meteorologist Hutch Johnson for the latest. Hutch.
Kelly, we have a few showers showing up on radar. That's where we're going to start. They're in eastern North Dakota and central portion of the Dakotas right now. Nothing is severe yet. You may have heard talk of a risk of severe weather tonight. This is not it. This is not the main event. If you are along Highway 200 or Highway 2, you have showers moving west to east across your area. This includes the Nadawash area and Lake Itasca. We're seeing northern parts of Becker counties getting some moderate to heavy showers at times. And if you're in Oaks and Gwinner, some showers in your area as well as western and northern Stutzman County and the Devil's Lake Basin. In Fargo, we're pretty quiet now. There is a risk for some thunderstorm activity in our southern counties as we go through the deep overnight hours. I'll time that for you here in just a minute, but for your evening, just have that umbrella handy. We could have hit and miss renegade showers or sprinkles, nothing too heavy, although we could have a brief heavy downpour up along Highway 2 and Highway 200. I'll have details in your hour-by-hour forecast on our severe weather threat here as we go through the overnight hours. Time all of that out, and we'll look ahead to the weekend here in just a minute.
Thanks so much, Hutch. We look forward to hearing more about that. And authorities are now investigating following the discovery of a body last night in an apartment complex near UND's campus. Officials say it happened in the 3700 block of Berkeley Drive. That's north and west of Chester Fritz Auditorium. Officers got the call just before 9:30. Police say early indications are that the victim died of self-inflicted injury and there's no threat to the public's safety. The victim's name is not being released until the family is notified. And Grand Forks police want to alert the public of a high-risk sex offender now living in the area. Roger Wally lives in 1024 University Avenue in Grand Forks. Wally has been convicted of possession of certain materials prohibited. Authorities say images were found on Wally's laptop of boys and girls under the age of 10 portrayed in sexual activity. An elderly woman is now recovering after a car crash in Mahnomen. The State Patrol says a pickup was trying to cross Highway 59 yesterday afternoon when he ran into the side of a car traveling on the highway. Noella Reese of Boston was airlifted to Fargo, and 92-year-old Homer Reese was treated in Mahnomen. The driver of the car that they were in was not hurt, and the driver of the car that was hit was also treated in Mahnomen. Troopers say no one involved in the crash was wearing a seatbelt. And this Friday, protesters will gather in our nation's capital for a march on Washington, calling for racial equality. Our Washington Bureau Chief Jacqueline Policastro tells us why the date was chosen and how organizers plan to keep the event safe during COVID-19.
We gonna keep protesting. August 28th, we going to Washington by the tens of thousands.
The date is symbolic. August 28th is the 57th anniversary of Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech. Reverend Al Sharpton's National Action Network and the NAACP are organizing what they're calling a recommitment to King's dream.
I think the dream now is to have an opportunity, right? We want to make sure that there aren't any systemic barriers to get in the way of, reaching your goals.
National Action Network's DC Bureau Chief Ebony Riley says the march is part of the movement that began after the death of George Floyd. She tells us coronavirus protections will be in place as marchers make their way from the Lincoln Memorial to the MLK Jr. Memorial.
The most important things for us is everyone's safety.
Riley says marchers traveling to D.C. will have to pass a number of temperature checks on the bus and when they arrive. Masks are mandatory. The National Mall will be divided into grids to allow for social distancing. Organizers are asking anyone with a pre-existing condition or from a COVID-19 hotspot to stay home.
We don't encourage anyone to risk their health to be there.
There will also be a virtual rally throughout the day and an online program of speakers and performances at night. In Washington, I'm Jacqueline Policastro.
To find out how to join the march, just head over to our VNL News app. And let's take a look at the COVID-19 numbers. In Minnesota, the Department of Health is reporting 1,158 confirmed cases of COVID-19, along with 13 new deaths linked to the illness. In total, over 1,800 deaths have been attributed to the disease, and over 6,400 people are listed as recovered. In North Dakota, there are 337 new cases and 1 new death in the state. The death toll now sits at 139, and the active case count is up to 1,995. And Fargo and West Fargo Public Schools want to make sure all students have meals during the upcoming school year. Whether kids are learning in person or virtually, each school district says parents can pre-order a weekly meal box by completing an online form. The director of food service for West Fargo says students doing hybrid learning will get a 3-day meal pack that will be sent home on their last day of in-person learning.
For the virtual learning, we will be doing a 5-day meal pack where parents can get a pack of 5 breakfast and 5 lunch, and those will be priced according to their status.
For more on prices and where you can sign up your kids, download our Valley News Live app. And officials in Moorhead say cleanup week will not happen this year. The city of Moorhead is canceling the free curbside pickup of junk known as Cleanup Week. Moorhead posted on its Facebook page saying the decision is based on COVID-19 safety guidelines from the Minnesota Department of Health. If you're itching to clean up the house, you can drop off your garbage free of charge from September 14th to the 18th at the Solid Waste Transfer Station. The hours are from 7 in the morning to 6 in the evening. And there's anger and frustration with vector control as people are finding several dead monarch butterflies around the metro from last night's spray. One woman says she saw at least 100 dead butterflies while walking her dog this morning. Vector control says, they told us that Cass County is 1,700 square miles and they only sprayed 100 square miles last night. Officials say they're trying to keep the West Nile virus out of the metro as more cases pop up in surrounding cities.
I mean, it definitely is unfortunate and something that, we don't strive to do, but without a doubt that we're spraying a broad spectrum insecticide that doesn't differentiate between beneficial insects or houseflies or mosquitoes or gnats.
Vector control says another mosquito spray may be scheduled in the future depending on data. And still ahead tonight, thousands are beginning the cleanup process after Tropical Storm Laura leaves a trail of destruction.
And we will have an update on Laura's current location and conditions. For us, passing showers, we'll track those and talk about our chance of severe weather in your overnight forecast, which is coming up right after this.